Welcome to Fantasy Football by Committee. The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let's talk about some players that you should add for Fantasy Football Week 2. And spoiler alert, a lot of running backs. So if you did that 0 RB strategy, if you had some running back injuries, a lot of underperforming running backs, I do think there's some guys, mixture of guys here, a couple, or at least one, a couple you can pick up and start right away, a couple who could have a very big role. I'll start with J.K. Dobbins, still under-owned. And again, people forget how talented he is when he's healthy. We just haven't seen him healthy very much, really in his career, but especially recently. But he had a big week 1 for the Chargers, and I think the Chargers still want to run the football a ton. Chargers are going to take a hot hand approach. So if Gus Edwards is starting to rack up those 5 yards per carries like he can do, then that doesn't help J.K. Dobbins, obviously. But if he's healthy, he is going to be the yardage leader in this backfield. He's just too good to not be on the field. So I would pick him up, and I think he's a fine flex. I don't know if I'm ready to call him a week in, week out RB2 yet. Let's see him string together 2 good games in a row. But as a flex, I think you like him. I think he's good. Zach Charbonnet. Ken Walker looked great as predicted in week 1. That's not going to last. He's going to get hurt. And Zach Charbonnet still had a pretty good game anyways. I think he had 10 carries and a touchdown. Let me look while I talk here. But he's used more in the receiving game than I thought he would be, which is props to him, right? And he's going to get touches no matter what. He had 10 total touches, 8 of them being carries. Didn't run the ball particularly well, but he did catch a touchdown. And if Ken Walker goes down / when Ken Walker goes down, I think Zach Charbonnet is going to be good. Hopefully he's healthy this time. Obviously came into this week with an injury tag, but I do think he needs to be owned for sure if you're a Ken Walker owner. But overall, definitely should be owned. He has deep flex value week in and week out with the potential to become an RB2. Then Ty Chandler. Aaron Jones is so good at football. So good at football. I think he's an obvious top 5 running back in the NFL when he's healthy, Aaron Jones. But he's always hurt. Like he's going to get run into the ground with his Vikings team. It is what it is. I love Aaron Jones, but he's going to eventually get hurt. And then it seems as though Ty Chandler is going to be that majority leader in the backfield. And if he is that, I think he's an RB2 at worst. So if you're an Aaron Jones owner, definitely go pick up Ty Chandler. Even if you're not an Aaron Jones owner and you have a roster spot open, definitely go pick up Ty Chandler. Then the number 1 trending player in fantasy, according to Sleeper, most picked up player, Justice Hill. Certainly, PPR league, Justice Hill needs to be owned. You can tell if it's going to be a game for the Ravens where they are going to be battling for points or trailing, like we knew for week 1. In those scenarios, you definitely want to get Justice Hill in your lineup in PPR in the flex spot. And even just week in and week out, I think he's going to be an okay flex. But obviously in those games where they are chasing points, he is going to be a much better option. And then finally, Bucky Irving, I thought looked really good. He ran really fucking tough. He looked good for the Buccaneers. And if Rashad White goes down, gets injured at all, Bucky Irving is going to be that majority guy in the backfield. He will be an RB2 in my rankings if White is out. So deep league, Rashad White owners, etc., definitely go pick up Bucky Irving. Got to do that. And then I would say the next biggest position this week for pickups, and the position that people are going to have the most questions about in terms of their own starting lineups. Let's talk about tight ends next here. Number 1 pickup for tight ends, you'll hear it across the entire industry. It's not a surprising take, right? Isaiah Likely looks good. Ravens were very, very willing, and this is what they weren't willing to do previously. They were very willing to just have him chip and just find an open spot in the defense, get the ball, and then do all your damage after the catch, which is what he's best at. He's not a route runner. He is not going to beat the defense with his route. He's not typically going to find the soft spots on the defense if he has to think about a route as well. But if it's like, hey, make sure our quarterback doesn't get killed and then go get open, he's going to be really good. And he is way more talented than Mark Andrews, obviously. He had some nice blocks, so it kind of shows that he's not necessarily a liability in the run game, whereas maybe earlier in his career he may have been. So definitely go pick up Isaiah Likely. With the caveat, do I think we saw his best game of the season? Yes. Will he be consistent? No. But most tight ends are not consistent, and he has as high of a ceiling as anybody. He still is going to be the tight end one in terms of the top pickup for tight ends for me. I just don't think it's going to be super consistent, so I'm not going to bank on it. I'm not putting him in my lineup ahead of a Travis Kelce or a Sam Laporta. Would I put him ahead of Mark Andrews? Maybe. I'm not a Mark Andrews fan. I'm biased, but maybe. Next, and this is for the next month or so, probably 3-ish weeks. I think Colby Parkinson looked really good. He is the guy who I picked up a lot if I didn't draft a tight end early, if I drafted a TJ Hawkinson. Colby Parkinson's the guy that I went to, and it looked good, obviously, for week 1. And if Puka is now out for at least 1 week, that only helps Colby Parkinson in terms of targets. I don't think he's going to be, a 10 target guy or anything, but if he can get 5 targets per game, I think he's pretty good. And he looked good in week 1. If he's going to be widely unowned, obviously, if I can pretty much guarantee in your league, Colby Parkinson is available. So if you're worried about your tight end one, even if you have like a Cole Kmet, we talked about Cole Kmet, you're not really having any confidence in, I think you can go pick up Colby Parkinson and start him over Cole Kmet next week. I feel good about that. And then the third one I wrote down, if you have any questions about tight ends or anything at all, definitely comment it. I'll check it after this. Hasn't played yet, so sort of calling my shot. Tough matchup, so it could be a tough week 1. But I do know Aaron Rodgers likes Tyler Conklin a lot. So if you're struggling at tight end, you need a replacement for an injured tight end. I think Tyler Conklin is going to be a decent option for you. We'll see what happens tonight. Really tough matchup on both sides, really. We could see not a ton of passing yards in this game, but we also could see some really big plays on busted coverages. So we shall see. But Tyler Conklin, regardless, Rodgers likes him a lot. So Rodgers targets the players he likes. I've seen it a lot. That's not a knock on Rodgers. It's just you have to have Rodgers' trust because of the throws that he makes. And Tyler Conklin has his trust. So he should be good. Wide receivers here. I'll say that same thing. I'm going to say somebody else in that same game. So for wide receivers, I think Mike Williams is underowned in too many leagues. Playing as the wide receiver 2 next to Garrett Wilson. Mike Williams should see a lot of one-on-one. He could very easily become a James Jones-like player for the Jets, catching a lot of touchdowns, being a field stretcher. This is a guy that so many fantasy analysts were like drooling over for no reason with the Chargers. He's going to have this huge breakout. And then now nobody wants to even own him. Like certainly the middle ground here is the correct one. It's that he could be a very good complement to a very good receiver. That's what the Jets have in Garrett Wilson. And they have a very good running game. So Mike Williams at best is going to be the third target for the defense out there. He's going to see a lot of one-on-ones. He's going to see a lot of big plays if he stays healthy. And obviously it's a big if. It's obviously a big if. You're not investing anything really in Mike Williams if you're picking him up. You didn't draft him high. You're not getting disappointed because of that. But Mike Williams is that boom or bust fantasy week 2 pickup. He could be fantastic. He could be terrible. I say this before Monday Night Football. So we'll see if Mike Williams exits Monday Night Football healthy. But I do think he could be a very good pickup for a lot of teams this year. Not a lot of wide receivers, I think, really caught my eye. But I will say Demarcus Robinson, if Puka Nacua is out. We saw Demarcus Robinson did it at the end of last year. He definitely proved that he can be a viable option in this offense. So go ahead, pick him up. Wan'Dale Robinson, he was the leading receiver for the Giants last year, 60-something catches, I think. He's super talented, and I think he played good week 1. I think he could be a nice little pickup as well. Who is the Broncos guy? Vele? Let me go find his exact name. I don't love him. Yeah, the rookie, Devon Vele from Utah, 6'5", 26, seems to be one of Sean Payton's guys. And if he's got the good graces of Sean Payton, he's going to be on the field and you see a lot of targets. 8 targets in week 1, 8 catches in week 1, 39 yards. Eventually, those targets will stretch out a little bit, but 8 targets, 8 catches, not a fluke. Not a fluke. You don't accidentally get 8 catches or 8 targets. So, deep league, obviously widely available. So, deep league, go pick up Vele. In Dynasty, I'm picking up Vele in the one league that he's unowned. But yeah, like he's not overly exciting. You're not picking him up to start him in week 2. But if his role grows from 8 targets, then shit, like he's going to be good. Doesn't seem like Troy Franklin's going to do anything to, take that role away from him. He was a healthy scratch. Cortland Sutton's still there. I still think he's good. We got Josh Reynolds there. I think he's a decent player, but Vele is Sean Payton's guy. And Sean Payton is going to overrule absolutely everything for the people he likes, right? Jaleel McLaughlin, that's a Sean Payton guy. Devon Vele, Sean Payton guy. So deep league, not a must pick up, but he is certainly somebody to keep your eye on. Just going through the injuries that we talked about, if we want to be smart with our pickups. Jordan Addison hurt. I believe Naylor was the next guy to really get involved. I don't think his stats were great. 1 catch, 21 yards, touchdown. So not a 0 must pickups for Minnesota's receiving core, but I do think he would be the next guy up for whatever that is worth. What is the ownership of Ray McCloud? Because I do think that was not a fluke. Sleepers, ownership's a little fucked up. But he played 54% of the snaps, 7 targets, 52 catches, deep league pickup. But I do like Ray McCloud. I like Darnell Mooney too. I think he has a chance to figure it out as well. But the entire Atlanta receiving core should improve, or passing game should improve.